Welcome to Let's Talk Motivation. I'm Serena Miranda, your host, and today we have a guest. Her name is Dr. Ashley Gaddy Robbins, and I am so excited to have you here. We met through the mic drop, and I'm so glad. I've met so many women, amazing women through that group. I wish the Facebook group was still going because there was so much information. And I just want to welcome you. Thank you so much for clicking that link and joining us today. And I'm excited to learn about you, your business, and where is Dr. Gaddy Robbins going?
Yeah, that's great. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell me, what is your current business right now?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and principal consultant of Ashley Gaddy Enterprises, and it is a consultancy that really focuses on people first strategies. And so I come into organizations. I also do some coaching for individuals, and I help organizations center humanity in their policies, procedures, and practices. So it is a full service organizational development consultancy, and that can look like a keynote for a conference or a summit or a function, a retreat or a meeting, all the way to strategy and assessment to really create a roadmap that centers people first. My tagline is people first, period. And oftentimes organizations understand the concept of people first, and they might think that that is what they are implementing. But when you really kind of unpack some of the culture, some of the policies, some of the procedures, the practices, we may find that there are some gaps if we really want to serve people at the organization. So I come in and I work alongside senior leaders, middle managers, and anyone in the organization to ensure that that is actually a practical, tangible aspect of the culture.
Wonderful. And what inspired you to start this part of your business?
Yeah, so I've been in the workforce since I was 15 years old, and I've been in some organizational cultures that were not centering people at all. Oftentimes, it was just based off of labor or time or knowledge, and it really felt one way. I felt myself constantly giving and giving and giving to an organization and not feeling like I was having it in return. And so I was inspired to start Ashley Gaddy Enterprises because I wanted to create a reciprocal, mutual connection in the workplace that is so embedded in the culture that it's norm for it to be a two-way mutual understanding between employees and leaders, or between the people who work there and the mission. So that's what really inspired my own lived experience and kind of the stories that I've collected over time, and really this drive to include everyone so people don't feel like they are burnt out all of the time. Work should not be a place that you feel stripped. It should feel a place where you feel excited to pour into the mission through the values because you are taken care of.
That is so true. And I have a crazy story I'm going to share with you.
Yeah.
Because by trade, originally I was a teacher. So I started my career as a bilingual teacher here in South Texas. And I had so many aspirations. You know, when you come out of college, you're like, I'm going to change the world. I have this passion. And I was a young 20-something girl and single. And I thought I had all this energy. Well, I went into teaching, and there's kind of a come to Jesus where it's not like that. It's not like that in the real world sometimes, especially if the culture in the work environment doesn't have a good foundation. And I went through a couple schools. I was an elementary school teacher, and I found out many, many years later when I did my Clifton strengths, why I had such a hard time in this environment was because one of my strengths is positivity. And in these environments, I was constantly, it felt like every time I turned around, it was a wall, and I was not getting that's reciprocal positivity, right? I was giving positivity. I was like, we got this. These kids have us here. We're here to help them. And then it was like Debbie Downer at every turn, and just that culture, until I found a school that the principal was just, that was her mantra. She's like, we are a team. We are here for service. And it just changed it took me a while to get to that point. But by the time I finally found that space, it was so rewarding. And I flourished in that environment to where I created a program for my bilingual students that were gifted and talented. And that principal gave me such support. And then it gave me almost like I guess in teaching, a promotion. I went from a classroom teacher to a gifted and talented teacher for the district, and really advocating for my bilingual students and to make sure they're represented in those spaces, right? And it was just, it really made me realize that the culture has, if you want to have a successful business, whether you're a corporate business or you're a mom and pop business, you have to put some time into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can feel, like you said, you can feel the difference. Like, when you are in a culture that has you in mind, that you are in a culture where collective, differences even. See, the work that I do is also about centering differences. While it is good for us to find our similarities, and that feels good, it is actually our differences that bring value and power and innovation to these spaces. And so, but there is a point where you have to actually fully, in real time, in real life, embrace difference. Yes. And that turn is hard, not only for people, but it's hard for organization. An organization is a working, moving body. And constantly. So it's really hard to it takes time to turn that curve to truly embrace difference and then create an atmosphere that welcomes it. So I help individuals and organizations turn that corner to do it in a real, genuine way.
Yeah, everyone has to have buy-in. And it's like, how, because that's some people, it's not innate. It's not innate to be a team player and to really have that in you. And I remember when one of the times we were having like an assembly, and the CEO from Boeing came to speak to us. And I've told this story before on another podcast, but it really stuck with me what he said. He said, we hire for hard skills and we fire for soft skills. And I was like, wow. That was very telling. Our students are coming. It's like, how do we teach those soft skills? Are we teaching those soft skills? Because even as a veteran teacher, when I would be moved to another campus, I had to start all over. The relationships had to be built again, and we had to trust each other with the team. And so, it's very important in an environment where to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was a moment I'll rephrase. Was there ever a moment you almost gave up on this business? And what helped you push through?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'm kind of navigating that moment a little bit right now, kind of here and there.
Wow. Okay.
The reality is that in these current times, there is an attack on inclusion. There is an attack on humanity at times, if you will. And so for me, whose mission is to center humanity through an inclusion approach and an authentic approach, well, that is oftentimes people look away. People feel they don't need it. People don't have the budget. People don't want it, whatever the case may be. And so there are times, even right now, where I'm like, do I need to go back to 9 to 5? Do I need to start job searching? Just looking at a couple of applications from time to time. And then something comes over me that says, you are doing exactly what you should be doing right now.
Yes.
Because of the attack. I feel that because of the attack on inclusion, because of the attack on humanity, actually, it's not the time to job search. It's the time to let people know there are consultants and leaders and speakers like me who are saying, no, you still deserve to be centered. No, differences still should be incorporated in your everyday culture. No, there are systems that still, and barriers that still need to be broken down in order for access to be prominent. So even though right now I may be in the time where some days I want to give up, that calling, because I do believe I'm called, that calling to actually say, maybe this is the times where people need to see you. Maybe more. More. This is the time where you actually need to be a little louder. So although there are times where I want to give up, almost instantly I am reminded of my calling and what people actually need in times of crisis.
Right. And sometimes I think the wording might get in the way.
Sure.
And people start to have certain words that, it just depends, might have to them a negative connotation. It's like, but it's been there all the time. This is not something new. This has always been a movement in some way, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, how do we give that message? So it's not these scary words, but it's really just people. It's just people and our environment. Like you said, it's like our environment, humanity. We're not, trying to tag certain words, but this is how we move forward and build a good, strong community. So
absolutely. I actually have a keynote called "A Change Is Gonna Come, Know It's Here." And it's a play on Sam Cooke's song, "A Change Is Gonna Come." And in that keynote, we talk about kind of all of the changes that are happening right now. But I actually, before we talk about the changes, I remind people of what's been the same. What's been the same is the pendulum between progression and step back, progression and fall back, justice and, challenges. That pendulum has swung for centuries. So we are not in a new swing. We are not in a new era. We may be tackling some nuances to the pendulum, but it has steadied swinging and it will remain swinging. We didn't call it DEI 40 years ago. We probably won't call it DEI in the next 40 years. But the work, the people and the work and the movement towards justice, that has been the same and that must continue.
Before we dive back in, let me share something that's been helping so many of my listeners lately. If you're a small business owner, you've probably worn every hat possible: manager, marketer, HR person, and maybe your own legal advisor. I'm Serena Miranda, and I help entrepreneurs like you protect what you've built, whether it's a commercial auto, general liability, or access to a trusted law firm. I've got you covered. Let's make sure your business is protected so you can focus on growing it. Visit networthlife.com or message me on any social media at serenamiranda.networth. Definitely. So who poured into you and that shaped you for this service?
So I am the daughter of activists and organizers. I am the daughter of an executive director of a nonprofit. I thought everyone had folks over their house making signs. I thought everyone licked donation envelopes. I just thought that's what people did. I just thought that's what people did because that's what we did all the time. And I thought everyone was kind to everyone. I thought that was just a norm. So it's truly kind of my parents not only being who they were, but also affirming me and reminding me of who I was in my brown skin and reminding me who I was when my weight fluctuated and reminding me who I was in myself, in the person who loved to read instead of watch TV, that they affirmed me in exactly who I was. And then they also lived a life of justice and a life of organizing and a life of activism. And so they both directly and indirectly poured into me to do the work of centering humanity. Because it really wasn't until I went to college that I was like, oh, everyone does not live by these same values and morals. Everyone does not treat everyone with kindness. Okay. So the culture shock for me wasn't even around like the demographic or the city or leaving home. The wake up call for me when I moved to college was literally about how people treated each other. I thought kindness was a universal. And, granted, yes, I went to middle school and high school, and those were the times, and, kids are mean at times. Right. But I guess maybe because at that time we were going to schools from people in our neighborhoods, we knew everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like we knew enough to say there was still a respect. So yeah, that those my parents really poured into me and instilled some really great qualities. And they also taught me how to do grassroots organizing. And that may actually kind of the lessons that I've learned around grassroots organizers helps me as a solopreneur. Because I don't have a huge team, and I don't have, abundant resources all the time. And so a lot of the things are me doing it for myself, but I lean on my time in grassroots organizing and watching it from a very from a very young age. And that helps me to keep going.
To keep going. So what's one word that describes your mission? If you could put it in one word.
The word that describes my mission is community.
Community.
That community says it can't just be you. Community says you must create safe spaces. Community says that you have to there has to be a goal in mind that brings people together. Community says we're locking arms, and so we stand for what's right. Community means so many things in the work that I do, in the workplace and in and in everyday spaces. So my work is not just for the corporate space. My work can land in any industry, and my work can even come out of the workspace, the corporate workspace, to work with nonprofits, community centers, churches. It doesn't matter. Community is a need for humanity, not an industry.
Right. So if you could give yourself some advice to the younger self, right? Yeah. On this journey that you've been on, what advice would you give yourself?
Stop trying to hide your country accent and stop trying to lower your volume. There was a point in time where I would code switch. There was a point in time where I would try to change the way that I talked and really talk softly so I wouldn't be seen as aggressive, or people wouldn't know that I'm as Southern as I am. And I would really, wanted people to see me as professional. And then when I started learning kind of more around systems of power, and I started learning around, more about code switching and what I was trying to fit into, I was like, girl, that is not you. And so I started liberating my own self and started embracing the fact that I am Southern, that it was my great-great-grandfather, Vink Gaddy, who brought land in 1903 in rural North Carolina as a Black man that allowed our family to flourish in rural North Carolina. That's something to be proud of. So why would I not have my accent? And why would I not let folks know that I'm rural? And why would I not let folks know that I'm Southern? And why would I be quiet? So I would tell my younger self, girl, please don't spend the time and energy trying to hide your dialect and try to
Right.
soften your voice.
Yeah, that is so, so true. And I'm from Texas. You're from North Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we get a lot of that. It's like, oh, you're from Texas. Oh, in Texas, they just ride horses. I'm like, I think I've ridden a horse like maybe twice in my lifetime.
Oh, right.
No, I'm like, my kids just recently went to Costa Rica. They had an opportunity to go study Spanish, and that was the first thing they asked them. Oh, where are you? You're from Texas. Do you ride a horse? Do you have boots? So they and people, ideally, they think this, they pigeonhole you, right?
That's right.
And when you're speaking, and sometimes even as a woman, you're supposed to be a little quieter, a little more calmer. And culturally, my mother is from Mexico, and my dad is from Texas, West Texas. So right there, you're going to know one's a Texan, and he would always say, I'm from Texas, and he was kind of ornery. And then you had the quiet, very demure. My mother was very polite, and she was that one. It was like, don't talk too loud. We feather. I remember her, we would stomp down the stairs, and she would be like, ladies don't stomp, they feather. And my friends would be like, what is a feather? What do you mean feather? Come down the stairs. And I was always kind of that energy, that a little bit louder than my mom probably would want me to be.
Yeah.
And when I had a daughter, I was very clear with Mike, you want to play sports? You can play sports. You want to play soccer? You can play soccer. Because she's in the middle of two boys. So she had to be a little tougher than most sisters, because her brothers were tough, and they were in basketball and football and soccer. And I remember her playing basketball one time, and someone fouled her pretty hard, and she was crying, and she can't, I just happened to be on the sidelines, and I'm like, Sophia, this is your moment. I was like, you need to be more aggressive. And she was like, oh, can I be aggressive? And I was like, yes, you
go for it.
And you get that ball and you do a layup and get that in the basket. And she was like, okay. That's all she needed, was that you got
permission.
This. Yeah, I'm like, you got this. There is nothing wrong with going for that basket, Sophia. And she was like, and she did, man, that girl could lay up. I think it was because she had ballet, because she could leap like no one's business.
Yeah, that's good.
And she was like, layup after that, there was no stopping her. And that poor little girl that fouled her was like, she's a tough girl. Even the boys, they would be like, Mom, Sophia keeps shoulder checking me in soccer, because they were all, when you're young, you play with boys and girls. They were all together. Yeah. And I said, look, if you don't want her to get that ball, you better run faster. I was like, because if she's gonna get it, she's gonna get it.
Exactly.
But yeah, no. And sometimes we just have to be okay with having that permission, right? Whether it's from ourselves or from our parents. It's like, go get what you need to get. Go do what you need to do. Be who you need to be.
Go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. And just be who you need to be completed.
That's right. And one thing that I focus on is, especially in workspaces or any space where there's like an org chart or a hierarchy or, of some sort. The thing is the folks who hold power in whatever way that is, stakeholder power, you should be the one ready to give the permission. Because the change can happen when you set the tone, because you have the power and positionality to do so. So if anything, you should be the main person making sure that you create spaces that give permission for authenticity and give permission for, emotion, and because if you're just like, everything's going to follow, we're going to follow the norms, or we're going to follow the rules, and we're going to follow how things are, that's going to close people in. But if you got a VP title, you should be the main one who should be saying, you know what? Actually, authenticity is welcomed here. Actually, that's what we prefer. Actually, there will not be retaliation if you show up as your true self. Actually, wear the heels you want to wear on the interview. Actually, whatever the case may be, because that's power means you have a position and a responsibility to set the right tone. And so I have to urge leaders to say, hey, you're the one who should be saying this, not not them. It should be you, because you hold the power to do so.
And I think it allows for more creativity in the workplace.
Yes.
It's like you want your staff, your employees to be able to give that creativity, because that only helps the business. It only helps grow.
Right. That's right. So it seems so simple in a concept. Like, that's why, don't get me wrong. I need, I need job security. So keep hiring me. But sometimes I'm like, it's really so simple of a concept. But the thing is that the concept just goes against so many things we've been fed. So there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of worry. But then when you activate it, on the other side, you're like, we should have did this 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Like, our people are happy. Our people are thriving. The work is happening even better. Like, folks, when done right, folks are like, oh, we're so sorry it took us this long.
Yeah, you're right. And what I've seen, because I've been out of the workforce for a while, I've been self-employed, whether working with my husband's business or doing my own thing since 2017. But my last 9 to 5 was with an education service center here in Texas, in San Antonio. And that culture and that creativity was so encouraged. And it was so and it was a bunch of women, because the majority of the people in education are women, and from all over Texas, we've all had different backgrounds, but the mission was all the same. And you could just feel the energy. And I think there's 20 different regions. They're called education service centers in Texas. And Region 20 was, I would have to say, the largest and the most successful, because our program encouraged that creativity and encouraged that support for each other, that it just fed into our work. And then it fed into the school districts that we worked with, which fed the teachers, which, it's like a trickle down. So it is so important as a leader, to see the importance of this, this looks like.
Yeah. And very quickly, my signature talk, my signature keynote, that's what we were working on in the Mic Drop Bootcamp. But my signature talk, the title of it is Nice Doesn't Cut It, Building Human-Centered Connections That Last. Because oftentimes folks think you just need to be polite. Good morning. How you doing? Oh, that's you're a nice person. People think that that's enough to really transform culture. And with all due respect, it's not. It really takes us really doing the work of, policy and practice and, inclusion, and really looking at people's strengths and really doing a full analysis of the goals and values of the organization and who we want to serve and how we want to serve them. That's the work that it takes. Niceness doesn't cut it. And I think that that's where we get confused and where people might be shocked, because it's like, people are nice here. So why is it that our engagement rate is so low? Because it ain't just about a good morning. It's not just about being nice. And so when I hear that, and when I hear kind of people talk about their times at work, and I'm like, yes, and it requires more if you really want to do that. So I love that there was a actual example of a culture that was successful because they really had it embedded in their culture, and they weren't just being nice.
Right. Well, let me divert the conversation a little bit to something that's very popular right now. How are you using AI in your business?
Yeah. So let me tell you, I was that girl who was like, I will not do AI anything. It is cheating. I don't need it. I have everything. And then I told you I was a solopreneur, right? So it is, it is just me as the business owner. So one day I said, I literally kind of wrote up, I forgot what I was drafting, but it was my words. It was my content. And I just said, it was like the 11th hour, right? And I was just like, look, the proofreading is what's going to really take me out. So I put it in to proofread the document that I had already written. And when it spit it back so instantly, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
This service just proof my words, my content.
Yeah.
So the way that I am using AI right now is I am making sure that I feed it my original stuff first, and I use it as an editor, or I use it as a rephraser, or I use it as a, hey, I have this activity that goes along with this theme. Yes. Are there any other activities out there that would really do well in this training with this audience? And I'm like, I would have never thought of that activity to do. That's such a great activity to do during this workshop. So that's how I'm using it. I'm feeding it my original content, and I'm letting it be my guide. And there's a joke right now, like on social media, like, who's your team? My team is Canva, ChatGPT, and CapCut.
There you go.
That's my team.
That's right. That's my team too. And I named mine. I call him Winston, and I made him have an English accent. So when he says, "Yes, Serena, how can I help you?" And my husband he's like, there she goes again, whispering in Winston's ear, because I always have my phone up to my mouth, whispering, "I need you to think about this." And he's like, he goes, "If I didn't trust you, I think you were cheating." Because
that is so funny. That is so funny. But but right? It's just, it is there to assist. And that's exactly what it is helping me do. That's exactly what it's helping me do.
I was watching someone on YouTube, and they said the CEO of Shopify. It was the CEO of Shopify put out a memo and said, "Don't ask me to increase your budget for your team unless you can prove AI can't do the job." And it is a sad movement, because that's someone that could have been hired, right? But the people that are there are now having to scramble, because he says, if you're not using AI, you're making Spotify less ahead of the game, because it's moving very, very quickly. And as business owners, we have to figure out how to embrace it like you did, right? How can I take my originality, what makes me, and enhance it and help shorten that time? And because solopreneurs, we're not there to hire employees yet. So this is helping us move faster along the road.
Right. And I want to say something about AI too, something that is very important to me when I'm doing the work as a service. I also want to make sure that the individual, so I do executive coaching, and I also do, like I said, organizational work, but I want to make sure that folks are also not using AI to sound inclusive or to sound like they're centering humanity, but it's not really in their heart.
Interesting. Yeah.
I need to ensure that you believe in people first strategies and practices, and that you implement it in who you are every day, not just saying, "Hey, AI, write this email in a way that has a human tone, or write this in a way that sounds inclusive." No. That ain't good enough for me.
Right.
I am working with people to make sure that it is a tangible practice in how you live and how you work. So sometimes, while again, AI is as part of my team, it is also to say, don't let AI mask the fact of what you truly believe in your leadership style, or how you truly believe people should be treated. Don't let it be a mask.
Yeah.
Because people, I do a session on code switching and code reading. People know when you're genuine and when you're not.
Yes.
Especially people who have constantly had the rug pulled out from under them.
Mm-hmm.
They know the truth about some things. So at some point you might use AI to say, make this, statement sound inclusive. But eventually people are going to be like, that ain't how you show up at work every day.
Exactly.
Your statement said one thing, but your practice is another. So something is not aligned.
Yeah, it has to match.
That's right. It needs to match. So I work with people to make sure it's matching.
That's awesome. So tell me, what are we looking at in the next year from you? What are we in? What's coming?
Yeah. So right now I am working on a guidebook, an e-guidebook that will focus on my Just Us model. And so the Just Us model is a framework that I created to help people have difficult conversations, especially around identity. Sometimes people just don't know how to have hard conversations, and they certainly don't know how to have hard conversations if there's some harm that has been done where folks' background or experiences or identities are at hand. And so I created a model. The idea of the model is to say, look, I know there's a lot in the world. I know there's a lot happening around us, but for this conversation, it's just us. And so it's an acronym. And so I am going to be producing an e-guidebook that helps people have difficult conversations. So that's coming out. Nice. In the next year, I should also be going on some sort of speaking tour. So I am claiming that around my niceness doesn't cut it talk. And then within the year, my hope is that I should be in the final draft periods of a book or a screen or a documentary or a stage play. So I'm taking my research around the power of everyday Black women, especially in times of when systems of power kind of work so hard to oppress them. I'm turning that research into all three, but we'll see which one comes up first. But I have a play already started to go to the theater. I have a documentary deck and pitch already created, and I also have a manuscript draft. So in a year from now, I hope that I'm saying, go buy the book, or go see the documentary, or
come listen to me speak.
Come to the theater to see it live.
Yes. Well, I'm so excited that you were my guest today. I really appreciate everything you've shared, and I see great things. I know there is going to be continued need for your mission, and I really appreciate you spending time with us today. And please send me all give us your social media right now. What is the main social media handle that you want us to follow?
So the main social media handle is at Dr. Ashley Gaddy Robbins. And so literally kind of how you see on the screen, Dr. Ashley Gaddy Robbins, that is me on all platforms. So that's where you can find me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and we'll continue to stay in touch on LinkedIn and Mic Drop for sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for the invite, Serena.
Definitely. Okay. Man, I was real bummed that the delay was so bad.
Yeah, the audio was so crisp and good though, but the delay was there.
The sound is going to be good, but it'll be good for podcasts. But I'm definitely we'll have to do this again when I figure out why this Wi-Fi and do a video one.
Okay.
Because now it won't even exit recording.